Hi everyone, Realthany Bedtano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Ghais Guevara record, There Will Be No Super Slave. This is a brand new LP from rapper and producer Ghais Guevara. I am just hearing about him now off the buzz of this project, though he has been at it for years, and it sounds like it, not just in terms of his flow, but also his lyrical focus, his wordplay, his style, his production chops. In so many ways, he's arriving as the total package on this project. He can seemingly do it all on many of these tracks and has a firm grasp as to what artistically he wants to achieve and just does it. Now, it is arguable that a little bit on this record he is living in the shadow of those who came before him, such as JPEG Mafia, maybe even Ab-Soul, but the style and revolutionary spirit with which he spits are undeniable and pretty easily recognizable. He has a mind for standout bars, as well as an ear for samples and melodies that hit instantly, which works for much of the 15 tracks on this LP, including a few interludes. On the first full song of this record, FREEMIR, we have some chilling, grand, urgent string loop set to the stuttering hi-hats and some kind of rubbery bass work that sounds like something off of a drill song. Ghais lyrically is running through all of this traumatic imagery that sounds like it's stemming from the protests and riots in reaction to police violence in 2020, with some poignant food for thought along the way. This makes for a fiery start on this record, and the heat only escalates further on this Ski Mask Ain't for COVID, which features these pumping and stuttering kicks, and on top of that, some wild reed melodies. Is this from an old-time jazz sample, a klezmer track? Either way, it's crazy. Even crazier are the speedy triplet flows with which Ghais hits this instrumental, and some insane one-liners about imposing Sharia law on the rap scene, backed up with bold statements about white opinions on black art and artists bending over backwards to appease a white audience. Plus, that heavenly beat switch at the end is stellar. Some flaws and limitations on this LP, though, begin to reveal themselves as the journey continues. On the first half of Patrice Colors, for example, the lo-fi distortion on the vocals, as well as some of the super speedy rapping falling apart a bit, just doesn't sound the best. Plus, much of what happens on the track after a beat switch in the second half is far superior, especially with one-liners like "I let the caps fly, now it's hats off." On the following track, we have one of only a couple noted features on the LP, and this one is just okay. Bitch, this a big pun, what you call Biggie favorite Blicky, a big gun. There are some highlights in the midsection of the LP, though, like with C.R.B, where we get some killer soul vocal samples paired with some really funky drum breaks, which essentially function in place of a hook. And the bars here are passionately delivered, they are quick, they are fiery, and they cover a wide range of topics, like a very intense shotgun blast with nods to systematic collapse, spirituality, racial injustice. Then the song RAYMAN Legends brings a smoother instrumental and a lot more focus, with some verses about a budding love interest. It's a little flirty, it's a little playful, kind of pretentious, and kind of embarrassing. Overall, a cute depiction of the various ups and downs that can happen when you are trying to make that first initial love connection with someone. Face Off is a really intense, sad, and tragic depiction of a man's first murder, as well as the spiral of violence that kind of brings him to that point, and the arrogance that leads him to his own demise. Some of the most stunning samples on the entire record land on this track, too. The whole thing sounds like a movie. The focus on this LP shores up even further on Sir Douglas Mawson, which puts us in the mindset of a guy who is pretty much trapped in a corner by what he creates, the world what he creates exists in, his own behaviors toward those around him, systems of oppression, as well as his own voluntary ignorance. It's a strong statement, but one of a few tracks on this thing I wish were structured out a bit more, as the fade-out ending on this track feels a bit inconclusive, and the samples can really only function in place of a proper chorus on this record so many times. I think variation in songwriting and song structure really needed to be accounted for, especially as Ghais starts to go the distance on the next few tracks here. Mimicry of the Settlers, for example, does start to drone on after a bit, even if a lot of the lyrical content being brought to the table is sharp. And respect to any song titled "I Personally Wouldn't Have Released John McCain." There are some strong highlights in the final moments of the LP, though, like the the chilling religious chants interspersed between bars about trauma and fighting demons on luminescence pierce through their confinement. And then we have the really epic closer SHIRK, and I will give it to Ghais. It does end the record off with a bang, a really warm sample, kind of a ray of light in a way, which does make sense because this record has been very dark and very bold and very grim and very material in terms of the ugly realities that it's staring very boldly into for much of its runtime. Overall, came away from this record really impressed. There are a lot of very forward-thinking bops on this thing. Ghais comes through with a lot of great bars, strong verses, strong samples, a ton of bass level talent. But as far as like songwriting and song structuring and sound play go, I think that he's still in a bit of an incubator phase on this one. Though I do think, as is fans of some of those artists who I mentioned earlier in the review, could listen to this and absolutely love what they're hearing. I'm feeling a decent 2 strong 7 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Ghais Guevara, forever.